So Kevin Knox is one of those guys who I end up talking about every few months. The last one was about 8 months ago, so I really haven't done a video focused on him this season. So I guess that's a pretty good time frame. Kevin Knox is bad. He is bad at NBA basketball right now. There is probably not a single thing that he does at an NBA level, and it's pretty concerning for a second-year guy who already looked not good in his first year. Now, for what it's worth, the on-off numbers are nicer to him in year 2. His team is -8 with him as opposed to -14 in his rookie season. Are we really considering that to be progress? I mean, no, but technically it is, I guess. The thing with Knox is, though, it's still like his jump shot doesn't look horrible. His size and length is there. And occasionally he can do something off the dribble where you're like, oh, okay, there could perhaps be something there. But in terms of consistency, it's just really not there. And now part of it is, of course, everything around Knox is just not good. I mean, the guy doesn't have a reliable playmaker, the spacing is bad, the coaching has been pretty whatever, and I mean, we get it, it's the Knicks. But even with all of that applied, I think if Kevin Knox was meant to be a very good player, then it still would have came out in some way for this Knicks team. I mean, you look at the guys drafted after him in the 2018 draft. Mikal Bridges looks better, Shea looks way better, Miles Bridges looks okay. And even some guys who haven't hit yet, but to me right now have higher ceilings than Knox are Michael Porter, Troy Brown, DiVincenzo has already kind of come along a bit, Herter definitely, Okogie is at least an NBA defender. So it's definitely tough for Knox at this very moment, and I don't know if it's going to be possible for him to become good on this Knicks team unless they really nail it with who's going to be running the show. I mean, they got Leon Rose now making decisions. So, who's going to be the coach, who's going to be running the development and all that. That's all going to be really important because I feel like Knox right now is at this crossroads of his career where it could go bad, but I could see him getting to some form of respectable. Because, I mean, for what it's worth, like in his first season, he shot 34% on 5 threes a game. That to me shows there could be something there as a shooter, even if it's just a standstill guy in the corner. I mean, at this point, if Kevin Knox just becomes Trevor Ariza, I think that's a hell of an accomplishment. And I don't think it's ridiculous to hope for that, given that, again, I think he can be a guy who can make some shots. Now, defensively, it's a different thing. I mean, I don't know if he knows anything about defense, to be honest, at an NBA level. I mean, Knox is one of those guys who probably needed to be in college all 4 years, or at least an extra couple, I would say. If we talk about where the Knicks decide to go with their coach, I mean, I think Kenny Atkinson is the best decision, personally. Tom Thibodeau has definitely gotten some rumors about the position, and I don't know if Tom Thibodeau would be good for Kevin Knox. I mean, he might be good for the Knicks in terms of instant improvement. Maybe not. I mean, the talent is still not really there. But I don't know if Thibodeau would want to waste his time with Knox. I feel like he would just see Knox not bringing it defensively, or, potentially playing hard but just not knowing how to play defense, and Tibbs would just be like, forget this guy. I'm done with him. Whereas a guy like Kenny Atkinson would probably see Knox and be like, all right, we got some things to work on. It's going to get frustrating. There's going to be some lapses on defensive rotations, and he might take a bad shot or two on offense, and he might not spot the open guy immediately. But I can work with that. If we look at Knox's shot attempts, in his first year, he took about 23% of his shots from mid-range. This year, that's down to 18%. That's pretty good. I think at this point, he really should not be shooting mid-rangers at all. He's bad at, long twos. He's bad from, 16 feet. To me, he should only be shooting threes and layups and dunks right now, nothing else. I mean, for what it's worth, he did shoot 56% at the rim this year, which, okay, that's cool. It's not horrible. One interesting thing about Knox is that 50% of his two-pointers were assisted. I think that has to be way higher for him moving forward, because I just don't think he has the shot-creating skills or the mind to, like, read defenses and know when to attack and when to just keep the ball moving. So that, to me, would be another indication of the Knicks really needing a coach who reinforces ball movement, and I think Kenny Atkinson, once again, good choice in that regard. Because to me, like Knox, he's got to be setting screens, he's got to be cutting to the rim, he's got to be crashing the glass. That, to me, is how he needs to create his offense right now, besides just simply spotting up. Just as many things as you can do to take the ball out of Knox's hands, because he just doesn't know what he's doing in that regard right now. I mean, his turnover percentage is higher than his assist percentage so far in his career. You just can't have that, you know what I mean? Now, another thing that needs to be talked about is Knox's personality on the court. There have been some people, and by that I mean when I go to the New York Knicks subreddit and search around a little bit, that would suggest Knox does not care when he's out there. Now, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but the fact that it looks like he doesn't is bad enough, because it shows he's simply not doing enough. And that can be in so many different ways. It can be, attacking the glass, or setting a tough screen, or cutting really hard, or just giving it your all defensively. Like, there's so many ways that you can prove that you're really going for it. I mean, I mentioned Okogie earlier with the Wolves. We can argue all day long about how good Okogie is really going to be in the NBA, but I know for a fact that that guy is playing hard every single game. And I don't think we can say that about Knox right now, so he's got to bring it. I mean, it can't just be a matter of everything around him needs to be better. If he simply doesn't have it in him to be good, then he's not going to be good, and he's going to be gone pretty quickly. If I can talk about Knox's defense a little bit more, this is frustrating because he's built to be a good defender. I mean, he's 6'7". He's a good athlete. I mean, occasionally he goes up for a dunk where you're like, whoa, where did that come from? 6'11" wingspan. I mean, it's all there, dude. I mean, we're talking 2020 basketball, versatile, switchy defender who can play multiple positions. Kevin Knox, you're the guy. And yet, he defensively is... Now, could you argue he got a little better this year? Okay, fair. He's still not even average, I would say, right now. And perhaps a hiring of Tibbs would kind of be the make it or break it point for Knox, where it would be like, all right, dude, if you're not going to be playing defense, then you're done and that's it. But is that really what we would want out of Kevin Knox? Now, at the same time, up to this point in his career, I do not think that the Knicks' coaching decisions should be dependent on, well, is this going to be good for Kevin Knox or not? I mean, RJ Barrett, maybe. Kevin Knox, definitely not. But if we're talking about just strictly Knox and his future, I think it's interesting, you know? Who would be the best type of coach for him? And it could be a college guy. It could be some random assistant that I don't know about. It could be Jeff Van Gundy for all I know. So yeah, I think early on, the hope for Knox could have been some sort of Chris Middleton type guy who can do some stuff off the dribble and play defense and make shots. But like I said earlier, at this point, like, Trevor Ariza is probably the goal. I mean, if Kevin Knox ends up being anything more than a reliable 3-and-D guy, I'll be not shocked, but I'll definitely be like, oh, way to go, Kevin Knox. Because it's just not looking great right now. Do I think Knox is an asset in the league at all right now? I mean, maybe. You know, some team who thinks if they can get him for basically nothing, then perhaps. Like, if he hit free agency, I think somebody would definitely sign him. And it could be anybody, really. I mean, I could picture a good team thinking, well, if he's not good, then whatever. Picture a bad team being like, we need anything we can get. So, yeah, I do think, regardless of whether Kevin Knox ends up being anything or not, I do think we're going to see him around the league for a little bit longer. But I don't even know if he has the stock of like a Stanley Johnson at the moment, because at least with Stanley Johnson, it's like, all right, you might be Andre Robertson, which could get you on the floor. Whereas with Knox, it's tough to even see that for him in his future. But we don't know. He still has the physical profile. The jump shot still doesn't look bad, even if the percentage wasn't great this season. So, maybe.